we've got Butch and Laurie Mims here, and they're longtime friends, and who have an interesting story regarding their escape from Lebanon in 2006. Tell me a little bit about, first of all, what were you doing in Lebanon, and then you guys tell me the story of how you got out.
Well, there were 10 of us from First Baptist Church in Forney, Texas, and we went with the intent of engaging Muslim folks with the gospel, and doing so in their homes and door to door. That worked well for the first 24 hours. The next morning is when Hezbollah decided to take some soldiers down at the southern border. While we were in Beirut, we didn't know what was going on at the time. We had gone down to a cafe to get something to eat. And while we were on that boardwalk, several large trucks with a bunch of people, AK-47s, Hezbollah flags, shooting going off over the Mediterranean, and just literally a lot of noise. We definitely knew something was wrong. There were several great folks that identified us as not being from the area and asked us to stay close to them until this parade of folks went by. That started an odyssey over the next several days of moving to different hotels and working with one of the theological seminaries there in Beirut. Who knew that there was a seminary there in Beirut? But our exodus included being overrun at our first hotel. When we first got there, we didn't realize there was anybody that we wouldn't have felt comfortable talking to. The next morning, we woke up to a lot of folks.
The hotel full. It was not full when we went to bed that night, and it was jammed the next morning when we woke up.
Of folks in full. Yes, this is in Beirut. Full burqa.
It's in the LT, in the anti-Lebanon mountains, just kind of overlooking the city.
Okay.
But we were able to pay for a couple of Toyota taxis to take us to a different location further up in like Laurie mentioned, in the mountain areas. And that night, I looked out our back window, sliding glass window, and there was a repeating tower sitting right there. And
right behind the hotel.
Literally 200 feet behind the back door of the hotel. And I told Laurie that that's going to be one of the first things that's going to be knocked down. So 2 o'clock in the morning, that went to ground.
Oh, wow.
And a
lot make it a little hard to sleep when they're doing stuff like that, huh?
You learn to roll under the bed real fast.
So Laurie, tell me what was your feelings when all of this started happening? Were you just confused, or
in the beginning, out on the boardwalk, I felt very out of place. Clearly, I was not Lebanese, and there were a lot of men out there with these weapons and firing them and driving up and down. We're on the other side on the boardwalk. We're on the Mediterranean side, not on the side where the restaurants are. So, like you said, it was finally a policeman's like, you got to get out of here. You got to get out of here. And they helped us get back up into the city. And then it was just it seemed like a lack of information, because we only have the one side. We only see what's on the news in Beirut itself and what's happening there. So a matter of, how long do we stay on the Muslim side of the city? How long do we stay there? Quickly became evident that we should not be staying there at all. We needed to get out. I tried to go to a store across the street to purchase something that I had been looking at earlier, and he refused to acknowledge that I was in the shop. And then finally he told me I needed to leave, and I took that advice and I left.
Wow. So then you were at this hotel, yeah, and then how'd you what how many days was all this?
That would have been the end of or the beginning of the second day
Okay.
is when the stuff
Yeah,
happened.
so I think third day, because, yeah.
And so we knew that as a group, we met at a McDonald's and gathered our thoughts. We had three military or post military folks on our 10-man team. There was myself, there was another Air Force mid rank officer, and we had one other person who served. And so we kind of acted as bouncing ideas off of each other. We realized that we were in the area that was highly suspect for uh, any kind of reprisal or any kind of problem.
From Israel.
When we located back to the second hotel, we were high enough up on the mountains that we could look down into Beirut all the way to the airport. So we were listening to the jets scream overhead. We were watching the bombings that were taking place in the area that we had just vacated. We had a lot of support from another missions group that just happened to be there. They were from Georgia. In their group, they had two brothers that had just come back from Iraq and literally had the commander's phone number on their person. So within our roughly 20-person group at that point, there was enough post-military folks that we had enough of a target on our back just being who we were, let alone that if something were to happen to that group. But we went on to a war rations kind of footing. We got the lentils and rice and
When we were evacuated out of downtown Beirut into this second hotel, as I'd mentioned, there were very few people in the hotel when we checked in, but the next morning it was full. We were sitting at a breakfast table, and a gentleman, there were three of us, Butch and myself, and then our leader, who was the Air Force man. And this man walked up to us, and he asked the guys, "Oh, are you Americans? Are you from America?" And our friend said, "No, we're Canadian." And he said, "Where from?" And Butch is familiar with Canada, and so he told them where from. "Oh, where is that? Is that," he was able to give him more information. So we had the detailed information about not necessarily being Americans. We went back up into our rooms. That's when we found out about this other team, and that we needed to evacuate the hotel immediately. We were thinking about driving to Damascus, and then found out that would have been a fatal mistake. That there was a bus that was taken, and at that point it had not been found, and the people on it had not been found.
So there was a lot of angst on what to do and when to do it. There was, the contact with the U.S. Embassy was difficult. I can't tell you how many Lebanese folks had American passports. A lot of them were unaccompanied minors or in the accompaniment of an older sibling.
And had never been had never been to the United States.
Yeah,
So-
they're just,
But they-
right.
They're
Said it
just
was like
collaborating.
55,000 of them at the time.
Yeah, there was a
There
bunch.
were a lot of people there.
The thing was that the seminary that we were at.
We'll go from that. So we were evacuated from that second hotel very, very quickly. They zoomed in, said, "Don't look out, don't look at anybody, just take what you have to take," which we each just took a small bag and just head straight to the vans and get in, don't look at anyone. And that's exactly what we did. And
Who
they
said
took us
that?
further up. It was actually the missionary that we were working with in the area had arranged for these cars to pick us up, these vans to pick us up.
These are folks that were still driving around in the area, even though it was still being bombed and being targeted.
So they took us further up into the mountains to this seminary, and that's pretty much where we hung out until we were called by the U.S. Embassy that it was time to head to the bridge.
And how long was that?
But it was several days, but we don't remember for sure.
It was about 10 days or thereabouts.
I was thinking like 3 or 4.
And during that time, a couple of the pastors from the local area were asking if we would help organize a relief effort for the Lebanese folks that were cut off, diapers and water and necessities.
Yeah.
So that center became a point where we could move materials and goods down into places that really needed it. So
We really felt like that was
it was
our reason for being there.
It was a call
at the seminary, was to help organize, and not organize, but to help put together these relief packages for people.
But that's something to keep yourself busy, at least.
It was.
Well, and the thing is that to separate out the Lebanese people from the Hezbollah terrorists, and for us it wasn't that difficult because we realized that we had been in those areas that had been bombed. The people we had been talking to were the ones that we knew, and they knew us, and of course they knew other people. So it was a good fit that way. When it came time to organize leaving the seminary to get down to a demarcation point, that was something else. We first got down onto the pickup point, and the U.S. Embassy was assigning numbers to groups, and your number would be phone called, but you never knew when that phone call was going to be
or where you were going to be sent to.
And so you waited for that call, and ours was to go to this specific bridge.
There's a highway that runs alongside the coast, and then large bridges that go over that highway to where the beaches are. And we were told to park on this side of the highway, or on the bridge, and then hike over the bridge to the other side.
Okay.
So
we didn't get very far.
we got to about the mid part of the bridge, and it was just body against body. But again,
reporters and cameras and people and a concertina wire. I don't know what they call it. But
they
concertina
had
wire.
The BMPs, the armed utility vehicles, military vehicles with 50 cals. They had us under the gun.
Wait, is this Americans?
Yeah.
No.
These
this
were
is on the other side of the wire, of the razor wire, up on these tall trucks with the 50 cals pointed at us, and they were Lebanese.
They were Lebanese soldiers.
That was Lebanese.
Way back behind that, we could see the Americans back there. The Navy and the Marines were back there, and they were bringing people in. But there was
so
no
they were kind of working together to kind of funnel people in.
They were, but we couldn't
just wasn't working too well.
It wasn't working at all.
We couldn't get on to the other side of the wire, and trying to talk to the Lebanese was not. They wouldn't even talk to us.
We were fortunate in that, myself, because they had Marines on the wire, and these two other guys that had the phone number to their former commander from Iraq. I was able to get communication with a gunnery sergeant there on the wire as former Marine, and I said, these guys have their unit commander on the phone, and this gunny's eyes got about 4 times the size of saucers. He's talking to this general on the phone.
He actually took the phone and left and went.
And walked off with it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was like, now what? But when we told him how many post-military folks that we had within our group, they told us basically, we're going to let you in, and then we want you to turn around, and we want you to act angry like we're closing the place and nobody else is getting in, and go under the bridge.
They said if the reporters ask you questions, which of course they would, there's 20 Americans being put back out on the other side of the wire, lie.
Yeah.
Just tell them you're mad, you don't know what's going on, but they're kicking you out. And that it wasn't a lie.
Yeah.
They
kicked us out. So as we went back out and went underneath,
go back underneath the bridge where no one could see where we were.
and down below were 5 of the State Department blacked out SUVs waiting for us.
He said, jump in,
And
leave your stuff, just get in.
They
And off they went.
took us a distance around the group and came in from a back area. Now, again, the Marines and Navy working hand in hand built on the beach an extraction point. So we had to go through a vetting process. No stamp went into to our visas or into our passports, but we were vetted, as was everybody else. We were put into groups, and
I had my first MRE.
didn't know what it was. That was interesting. But yeah, we got mustered down to the water line. LCAC came up onto the beach, and we mounted the LCAC. And from there, we're taken out to USS Nashville. That ship's now been decommissioned, but heads up to the guys, on that side of the.
They were phenomenal.
The Marines are a department of the Navy, and I'll say it again, it is the men's department.
You're going to get us in trouble now.
but the point is that without the Navy being there, and they had their SEAL teams up on the rubber boats armed to the teeth.
One of my favorite pictures is
just
one of those rubber boats with the 50 cal and the flag, and they're circling our LCAC as we're
circling
heading out.
the extraction area.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.